Hi, I'm Jasper Peach, and along with Women's Health, Lod and Melly, I'm gathering stories from people like me who have compromised immune systems. Here on Dja Dja Wurrung Country in Castlemaine, I'm speaking over Zoom with people across the Lod and Melly region.
My name is Dionne Lynch. I'm 47. I had to think. I live in Bendigo, and I've been here for about 17 years from Melbourne. And I have an autoimmune arthritis called ankylosing spondylitis, which affects the spine and the pelvis, but it mainly attacks the immune system as well. And a lot of my medication affects my immune system as well. So I've actually had 4 vaccines. I've had 3 Pfizers and 1 Moderna because I'm so paranoid about COVID. I'm very paranoid about germs to start off with because of my condition. And I don't know how my body would react to COVID. And what worries me more is probably how my medication would react as well if I could continue my medication. I'm married. My partner works in disability, so he goes out into the community as well and works in disability. And we have one son who's nearly 16 and is in year 10 at school. So I've had my autoimmune condition for about 10 years, and I have been taking medication probably for about 8 years, which affects my immune system. The medication I take is I have an injection once a week, which I give myself, and methotrexate tablets as well, which sort of kills my immune system each week. So anyone else in my family, mainly because my medication lowers my immune system, so it would last longer or I would have worse symptoms. I haven't had a cough or a cold for a long time because I avoid germs so much. Yeah. When we first learned about COVID, I don't have anxiety normally in the real world, but I was very anxious about going out, going to places, being in crowds. I wore masks right from the start before, there was any regulation to have to wear masks. So any time I was going somewhere, I would wear. Much to my son's horror, I would wear masks just to protect myself. But no one said anything, like people don't really care. So I was very anxious when COVID first hit Australia. The way that COVID has affected me with my medical appointments and specialist appointments, my rheumatologist is in Geelong, so it's not like, you can duck down to make an appointment with her anyway, but it was very difficult to get information over the phone or to relay messages to her. Or she was good about making an appointment, but to be able to get that support was just zero. Didn't happen. I think because it was it was so overwhelmed by everyone just trying to rely on the phone or rely on telehealth appointments. So that was non-existent really in the last 2 years. And to get even just a GP appointment over the phone, I remember after COVID, I think we'd had COVID, for about over a year, and I had my first face-to-face appointment with my GP, and I had about a list of things that I had to go through face-to-face with him because I'd sort of been holding off for so long to get that, face-to-face appointment. He just said everyone's the same, that, regardless if you had a chronic health condition or not, that everyone was sort of like coming to the GP with multiple issues that they'd been putting off for a year or so. So it was just nearly impossible to get any information in the last 2 years from a GP or, specialists as well. That's what I found in my experience anyway. My experiences in the last 2 years with COVID, with any, changing or any changes in my condition, is that I do Pilates each week, Pilates classes each week, and at a physio, and I've been doing them for probably about 5 years, and it really helps my condition. And they suddenly stopped, and then after a while they went online. So I really felt the effects of not doing the Pilates classes. I didn't like doing the Pilates classes, but I did them because my rheumatologist told me to do them, and it actually really helped. And they knew I wasn't there voluntarily. I was pretty vocal about it anyway. That I didn't enjoy it, but there were a lot of benefits from it. And it was the same with the going swimming or being in the hydrotherapy pool, that the pools were closed for a long time, and then I was not I didn't feel comfortable about going back into the pool, and I've only just gone back this year, and not very regularly as well. So they're probably the two things that I felt affected my condition the most. I work full time in local government and in an administration role. I've been in the position this is my 12th year. So when COVID first hit, we all got sent home, and I was at home for 2 years, which I loved. And my health improved dramatically. With my medication, I have to have blood tests every 3 months, and the inflammation levels were, dropped significantly in the last 2 years, and I felt a lot better, but because I wasn't rushing anywhere, I was sitting in my dressing gown all day doing my job, and I wasn't rushing to school, and I wasn't rushing to footy practice, and I wasn't going anywhere. It was fantastic. So just did my job for 2 years at home, and it was great. It felt really good. And it was probably the first time in my life that I'd ever lay on the couch for a whole weekend watching TV, because you didn't have to be anywhere and no one was coming over, and so you didn't have to get dressed or clean up the house. So it was great. So no pressure. So we went back into the office last December, and we all went back then, and just the full face mask since then. And now everyone is back in the office, and no face masks as well. So that's the reason why I got my 4th vaccine as well, just so I felt confident about being in the office, surrounded by everyone, and that if I did get COVID, then it maybe have less symptoms as well. I haven't been back in the office for very long, so I haven't noticed that much difference in my health, but it would be interesting when I get blood tests to see, what's sort of going on as well.
And I guess it gives you a bit of pause about, how can life be accessible to me like this, and these energy levels be accessible?
Yes, that's right.
And the lack of pain or reduced pain be accessible. It seems like a fairly basic human right to me, like that you shouldn't have to rush around if you are capable of doing your job at home.
Yeah.
In your dressing gown,
absolutely,
fan a couch,
yes,
exactly. I really hope that there are findings from these last 2 years that working from home is okay, and it doesn't mean people are slacking off. It just means
that's right,
that these things are accessible to more people, and then more people who are disabled or who have chronic health conditions can participate in the workforce.
Yes, that's right. And I would have worked a lot longer hours being at home as well. So I wasn't, just clocking off at 4:30. I was, you'd sort of leave the computer on, go back and check it a couple of hours later. So I would have been working a lot longer days as well, and still feeling really good. So, and starting earlier before school. So I was very productive in those 2 years, not interrupted by anyone at all. So it was great. I'm probably number one, a mum. So I enjoy making my son happy, and that he likes tinkering around on motorbikes and things like that. So I have to sit there and help him, even though I know nothing about mechanics or engines or anything like that. But it's a joy that he gets it, so, and I have 2 pugs who are spoilt rotten, and and never go outside. I think if during COVID we lived in a little apartment, that they would never have noticed, because we do have a big backyard, but they don't go outside. They just sit on the couch all day. So they're my joy. I enjoy spending time pampering the dogs and just spending time with my family, which was really good over COVID, that we were forced to spend the 2 years together. So now restrictions are lifted. We have a caravan, so we enjoy going away together with the dogs. So either to caravan parks or to, the bush. Last year, we planned a trip up to Queensland with for a month. We planned it, and we got as high as Bathurst in New South Wales, and then all the borders were starting to close, so we came back down. so we went away for 2 weeks. So but that's what happens when you're in a caravan. You can do what you like and be very flexible. So we hope to, now the borders are opening, when case numbers come down a little bit, we will plan another trip like that as well. So, but we've been going away for overnighters or weekends, just in the bush, so just free camping. So we enjoy doing that together as a family, not near anyone, and yeah, it's great. With my condition and how it would be impacted by COVID, I haven't been able to get any information whatsoever. And I've spent a lot of time and money making appointments with my GP and rheumatologist to get information as well on how what I should be doing with COVID, if I did get COVID. And also I spent a lot of effort trying to get information on how I would be affected by the vaccine as well, that I'm all for vaccines, but I was very hesitant about getting it because I didn't know how it would affect my condition. And so with my job, we had to get it. We had to get the vaccine to keep our jobs. So I was one of the last ones to get the vaccine. And because I didn't know how I would be affected, and nothing happened in the end, so that was fine. But I spent a lot of time and money and effort trying to, having appointments on how I would be impacted by the vaccine, probably more than how I would be impacted by COVID. But in the end, I've had 4 vaccines and nothing's happened. So, but I took that risk myself though anyway, so to get those. I worry if I did get COVID, it would last longer and that the symptoms would be worse and I would have to stop taking my medication. That's my number one fear, that I would have to stop taking the medication. And if I sort of miss it even by a day, I'm really impacted by it and in a lot of pain with the arthritis. So even if I miss it just normally, which I don't, that's my biggest fear, that I wouldn't be able to continue my medication if I was so sick that I couldn't continue my medication, which would just make my symptoms a lot worse. So that's my concern if I did get COVID. So my advice to people who think that COVID's not a big deal, maybe it's not a big deal to them, but it's just to be mindful of protecting other people who you may not be aware of, who have chronic conditions, chronic health conditions, chronic immune systems, take medication all the time that affects their conditions, affects their immune system, and even just to be mindful, just to be aware of other people, how your actions, not wearing a mask or not social distancing, how your actions would affect other people's life in the even just in the long term as well. So to them it just may be they may just have symptoms like a cold, but to other people who have chronic health conditions, it would be a lot more than just a cold. I loved being in isolation. I think that my son and I, my son does not have any chronic health conditions that we're aware of yet, but my son and I were born to be in isolation, that we just loved it. He did miss his mates, but I didn't miss anyone. I did miss seeing my family, but we finally got there with talking on the computer. Took us probably a year to work it out, but we got there and we worked it out and it was great. But, we loved it. We didn't have to be anywhere. We We both learnt cooking. Like neither of us had ever taken an interest in cooking before. We suddenly taught ourselves how to cook. We started painting the house, did everything that at home, and it was fantastic. Loved it. And as COVID restrictions lifted, we started sort of seeing a few more people, but we were still able to keep in contact with everyone. So we loved isolation, and and nothing. Like we always had our groceries delivered. We'd always do stuff online, so nothing much had changed for that as well, because we'd sort of avoided all that sort of stuff beforehand. So none of that really had changed, from our lifestyle before COVID. So everything just completely slowed down for us, which was great. We loved it. So we were happy to be in isolation. The things that I'm looking forward to in life or in the future, my family really, we work so we can go on holidays. That's our sort of, enjoyment in life. So we really like to be able to plan a holiday in the caravan and go on it, and not get turned around at the borders or with any restrictions, turn around and come home again. I mean, we've been flexible to do that, but we would just love a long holiday, even somewhere very remote, somewhere North Australia, right up the top, or just back to Uluru, or even around WA, anywhere, to be able to plan something and go ahead with it as well. So take our dogs, take our son, if he still wants to hang around with his parents, who are, really embarrassing. But I think that he would like to go on a free holiday anyway. So I think that he would still be able to still come with us as a family. So, and see, from COVID, we learnt cooking. We taught ourselves cooking, but we sat down and had dinner together because we weren't rushing anywhere. We had conversations. So I would like for that to continue, to spend more time as a family as well.
You can play your part in protecting people in our community who have compromised immune systems. Vaccinate, boost, wash your hands, mask up and stay safe. Women's Health, Lodd and Malley, centering the voices of people with compromised immune systems.